Hi, my name is Katherine Bitner. I am a small town romance author, and today I am here to talk about Between the Lines, which is the third book in the Hometown series.
Welcome to Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. This is a soft space to explore romance in books, where no topic is too taboo. I'm your host, Casey, and this week I am sitting down with author Katherine Bitner. It's been wonderful to have Katherine on the podcast for every book in the Hometown series, but as we always do when she joins me for an episode, our conversation takes a complete left turn and we drop into some very deep topics. We're exploring pride in relationships, grandiosity, vulnerability, and that particular bittersweet healing of being misunderstood by the world around you and finding a mirror in someone else. If you're up for a discussion about being seen, heard, known, and understood, even and especially when it's uncomfortable, this is the episode for you. Katherine, welcome back to the Love Letters and Books podcast. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here today. I can't believe it's the third time.
I know. It's funny because when you posted on Instagram in your stories yesterday, and I saw that, I was like, yeah, I always like to point out that your book, Unravel Me, was the first video I made for my Love Letters and Books account, just because I
Yeah,
loved it so much. I couldn't put it down. And so I think it's always really special when you come back on the podcast
thank
and,
you.
we kind of get to move through these worlds that you create. So I want to really just open this episode by giving you the floor because we are here to talk about a very specific book today. So, Katherine, the floor is yours. What are we talking about?
Okay. We are talking about the end of the series. So the book is called Between the Lines, and it is book 3 in the Hometown series, which is it's so crazy. Just now that you said that, I'm sorry, I'm already derailing, but that you started with Unravel Me and now it's the end with Between the Lines, and that's really cool. So it is another standalone contemporary romance, summer based, and it comes out June 24th. So not too long now. It's a summer romance at its core, but it's really a story of like a single mom and her boss coming together. It's an opposites attract, a forbidden romance. And it kind of just has like, it has a really good like summer nostalgia vibe that I think a lot of us are craving right now.
I'm craving, and you probably saw my Instagram post today between my entire
Yes.
editorial team where we were talking about like nostalgic summers that we want. And it really mostly consisted of laying in the backyard and tanning and putting sun in our hair and just
Yeah.
destroying our hair all summer long. So let's just drop into that space because like those summer nostalgia stories and like by the beach, just that type of a book really is so immersive. So tell us a little bit about this world that you've created for this book specifically. Like, where does it take place and
Yeah.
kind of what can we expect in the energy of the setting?
The book is set in Wilmington, which has all of the perfect East Coast summer vibes. So, Wilmington, North Carolina, which is also where Lucky Penny took place, the book right before it. So, if you're like wanting to expand on those vibes, this book brings you along for that journey. Summer is my favorite season. I am a huge summer girl. And so, I really just wanted something that felt really immersive in that North Carolina summer feeling. It's just so tangible in a way, like you can just feel it when you're reading this book between the lines. And I wanted readers to just, no matter where they were, they felt like they were in summer, no matter when they were reading this.
Oh, perfect. I love reads like that, right? When you're like almost even in like the depths of winter and you can kind of just bring
Yeah.
yourself there. So I do have a question. What inspired this story, right? Because we're winding down the hometown series. Did you have them all planned out at the beginning or has it been a gradual process?
Yeah, this is a great question. And this one I have to be so honest about because I didn't plan on writing this book at all. And it was a really hard book for me to write, but it was inspired from my readers, honestly. Like the readers who read Lucky Penny, who met Fia, the main character, before they wanted to see her happy ever after. And I wanted to give them that because this series has really changed my career and I have so many loyal readers because of it, and I wanted to give something back to them. So they were asking for Fia, and I was like, all right, I'm going to deliver for you. I'm going to give her the best happy ever after that you can imagine. And so that's really what inspired just the story to take place in the first place. But then also just my love of like North Carolina summer and just all of the things. When you read it, it's just going to be a conglomerate of all of the things that Catherine loves. You will see that. So it's really like one big love story. Like, here, this is for you. This is for the readers. I had nothing that was like a spark that I had to write this book, which was like what happened for all my other books. So it's very different.
What is it like for you as a writer to bring something to an end? And I'm not even saying like sort of the worlds you build and universes, but
Yeah.
we're saying this is like one of the series, and that's a particular experience, right? Like no one prepares us really for endings in any area of our lives. So
Yeah.
what is that like in the creative process?
It's really unexpectedly hard, I think. I only wrote standalone books before I started this series, so it's my first one, and I imagine most authors feel this way when they come to an end. It's bittersweet, like, you created a world and you don't wanna leave it, but you're also ready for something new, and so it truly is that bittersweet thing, and I don't know what is next and what is new, but I think this world I created, this hometown series world, is very near and dear to me just because it is like my first series.
And for readers like myself that have the fantasy of moving to North Carolina,
Yeah.
this is sort of, I feel like you've covered all the bases with this series, like all of the places. You just get the feel of it through the pages. So now that we've kind of talked about the setting and the inspiration, I would love to dive in a little bit more to talk about your characters. Can we just start with your FMC? Can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
Fia and why her story is so important?
Yeah, absolutely. So Fia, she is one of my youngest female characters I've ever written. She's 22 and she's a bit I like to say she's whimsical. My beta reader said she was naive. But she kinda goes through life with rose-colored glasses. She's the youngest sibling by far, and she kinda just wants that fairy tale ending. So, she's a big book reader, and she believes in happy ever afters, but she kinda believes, like, it's not for her. Like, it's not gonna happen. She just knows they're out there. And so, it was really fun to give her that, like, just kind of hopeful vibe. She's like a hopeful or a hopeless romantic, but she's also very hopeful and whimsical. And I always say if she was like a creature in a fantasy, she would be like the cutest little fairy. And so it was really cool to write someone like that because I'm used to writing kind of harder exterior females. And so Fia is like how I feel sometimes on the inside, but can't be on the outside a lot of times. She's just very, like, soft all the time, and so that was really cool to write that.
Oh, I love what you just said. She's how I feel on the inside, but I can't be on the outside. And who gets more judgment than those characters, right? Because that's a
Yeah,
triggering thing. It's a mirror for all of us when we see someone who has a vulnerability that maybe we struggle with ourselves, right? Like we can
yeah,
almost feel a very hard persona almost forced on us to navigate the world. And it's like, I definitely understand the pull as a reader, as a writer towards strong, like those outwardly strong characters. But I also
yeah,
think that there's so much to be said about being loved, even in your softness. And whether it's naivete or like whimsy, whatever it is, like
yeah,
there's space for that too. And that's really important to have that conversation so that we don't force people to be one thing to get something out of it. It's like almost like the importance of being who you are and being loved for who you are, even when
yes,
you're vulnerable or, like, full of whimsy, you know?
yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, now we need to hear about your MMC. Is he too very whimsical, or is he sort of her polar opposite?
So, his name is Caden Brooks, and he is the opposite of Fia in almost every way, except for the fact that he is misunderstood as well. So he is like a very wealthy. He grew up. He dubs himself the pretty rich boy because that is what he was called. And that was a really interesting character for me to write because if you've read my books, I've never written the like typical rich man billionaire romance. That's not really in my forte. But he was someone who just came to me and spoke to me. And he really loves Fia for who she is. Like, he doesn't see her as too much like the rest of the world sees her. He sees like her dramaticism as her expressing herself because he's always been very suppressed. And so he like is very almost jealous of her, of how she is just herself unapologetically. And he wishes he could be like that. And so I don't want to give too much away, but it's a really true like opposites attract and they also bring out the absolute best in each other, which is like my favorite type of romance in real life. I think it's beautiful when two opposite people can really make the other person bloom.
Oh, yeah, I really felt that in the other books in this series, and I really think that you're creating these dynamics where it's an opportunity for them to meet themselves again in a different way, right? Like, just take a step back from a persona or
Yeah.
like the only thing someone values about me in the world. And then it's like, oh no, but being able to show up in your wholeness, right? And to be received
Yes.
for all of those moments. Like, yeah, sure, he's got money, maybe he's good looking, but it's also like you're talking about that suppressed or repressed ability to communicate and like live fully, live out loud.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's absolutely no tension about that whatsoever, because I know in real life, like, that's the easiest thing for someone to deal with when, like, they watch someone in front of them doing something that is something maybe you really yearn for inside, but you maybe didn't have
Yeah.
a name for. So, I just wanna touch on that for a second, and of course, like, never to
Yeah.
give too much away, but why is that so interesting? Because 'Cause I'm seeing that in your writing in this series, and I haven't read this book yet. I am so excited
Yeah.
about it, but, like, that moment when we see something that we want, but maybe we didn't know we wanted in another person, like, why is that delicious?
Oh, that is when you say that, I'm like, oh, I that is really in everything I write. And I guess I've never analyzed it too much. I think
Well, don't worry, Catherine, I analyzed it
yeah,
for you.
like let me psychoanalyze myself real quick with this. Oh, I think it's just really beautiful. Like in most of my all of my books, really, the theme of like being seen for who you are and not being seen by the rest of the world, but that one person really sees you for who you are. I think to me that is like the ultimate love that you can show someone or that you can receive is just to be seen. And so I think a lot of times it's in someone that you didn't necessarily expect or it's someone with traits that you might have judged, but then you realize those are the traits that are actually like complementary to you. And so, yeah, it's like that opposites attract on like a very surface level, but then when you dig deeper, I think there's just so much there. I don't know. This is a topic now. You've like opened a can of worms, and I'm like, this is very interesting.
We can talk about this offline. No, but I do find it's really interesting, and I was wondering about your own journey, right? And being seen in your own wholeness. You know, I remember in one of
Yeah,
our very first conversations, you talked about being an author and what that can feel like when people receive you a different way or slap a label on you, or your writing evolves or changes, you take on a different voice. So, you know, from the very first time I spoke to you until now, you've had a lot going on. And I kind of
yeah,
just want to check in of how do you feel sort of being seen in your wholeness and not having to repress or suppress certain parts of
yeah.
yourself in your work and life?
I think it took me like a few years of writing and calling myself an author to finally feel very confident in that skin and want to be seen that way. And now it's something I'm like very proud of and I wear proudly. And I think it takes time. I know a lot of for a lot of people it's different, but it took me time. I think because it wasn't the career that I started with. And so I gave up another career. And so there was that layer of I'm failing and or I failed and now I'm starting something new. And it's always scary to be a beginner in anything. And so I wanted to be seen as successful right out the gate. And but that doesn't happen in the self-publishing world or the world in general. You can't start as someone successful. So I think it just took me some time, but now I am like loud and proud about being a self-published author.
Well, if you could drop into that space and really talk to the audience, because everyone has something that they're doing in their life. Like it doesn't even have to be being an author or even
Yeah.
creative. It could be, but it could be relationships, it could be professional, it could be education, it could be home life. Maybe just tapping into that space. Like if someone was in front of you and struggling with that in showing up in their life in wholeness and they had a lot of reservation about it of like maybe someone's going to have something to say or maybe I won't be useful to ever like what would you say to
Yeah.
someone in front of you about that?
Yeah. I think Oh, that's such a good one. I think at the end of the day, you have to know your why for doing something. That was always my biggest thing. And I think, like, if you're feeling afraid of critique and judgment or just not being seen as how you want to present yourself because you're not there yet, I think remembering why you're doing something and it should be for you, it should not be for outward glory and other people accepting you. It should be because it feels right for you and it's aligning for you. And I think that's for anything. But that's also why, like, personally, I kept writing because it felt right, even if to everyone else it looked like, what the hell is this girl doing? And so I think you have to remember, like, does this make you feel whole? Does this bring you joy? And if this lights you up, then it's what you're meant to be doing, no matter what anyone is saying.
I think that's a really good self-inquiry, but I actually think that we're not always like guided towards that. And even the
Yeah.
idea of walking towards something that lights you up. I think so many of us have wounds around that, right? Of like, oh, well, don't be too loud, don't take up, don't,
Yeah.
you know, garner too much attention, don't, how does anyone else benefit from that? Like if you can't help someone then it's not worthwhile or like what is the benefit of a creative pursuit, if it's not gonna go
Yeah.
anywhere? I know that sometimes in different areas of life, right? Like, when I've done something creative or people in my life have, the response has been like, "Well, if you're not gonna be the best, or you're not gonna be the New York Times bestseller, you're not gonna, like, sell a painting for $1,000,000, like, what are you even doing?" And
Yeah.
that's really hard to hear. And when someone says that, they're definitely speaking about themselves, right? Like we know this. We
Right.
know that somebody
Right.
like that's their
Yeah.
self-critical, but we're the ones hearing it. So it's like
Yeah.
it's very interesting to watch you on this journey as you build these worlds, connect with readers, in this space where it's like you're very much defining your voice. I don't know. I guess I like being along for the ride and seeing that because I think it adds value, like, not just like, "Oh, you put out a book, I read it, I feel great." It's like, "No,
Yeah.
you put out a book that's in your voice, and I feel great because it's a reminder to the person next to you that they can do whatever that thing is for them and do that in their voice, in their way, and
Yeah.
take up that space, and that there's room for everyone." So I feel like it kinda goes so much deeper than just creating a product, right? And, like, someone enjoys it,
Yeah.
and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think, one of the things so I've started drawing recently, and I'm really bad at it. And I keep thinking kind of what you said, "Oh, if I'm not making money from this, what am I doing?" But I changed my perspective on it just last night, and I was like, "This is bringing me so much peace." And
Yeah.
I'm excited to do it at the end of the day, just sit down and draw. And so you kind of have to find value, I think, in something else. There is value in everything you do, everything you pursue. It just might not be the value that other people think you should be pursuing.
I mean, this is the pro whimsy podcast episode. I'm all about it. I feel like we need to be doing things that really do bring us joy and
Yeah.
also know that like doesn't it sort of like amplify other areas of your life, right? Like it's not directly correlated, but it does have an impact when you feel like
Yeah.
you have access to happiness and peace and like even insecurity, right? Like the benefit of being a beginner, seeing with beginner's eyes, whether it's in a new relationship and you're seeing yourself differently, or you're creating something and you're like, I'm not the best yet.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I recently spoke with another author, Tyler Page, and we were talking about this exact thing. And she's like, it's okay to take the stairs. Like, you don't have to take the elevator because there's a lot of stuff on the stairs that you would miss if you just went right up to the penthouse. And I was like, you know what? You are
I
correct.
love that. That's a
Right?
great yeah, oh my gosh, I love that analogy.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah. Okay, well, back to your books because I definitely
Okay.
want to talk about this story again and like explore a little bit more. And I really want to touch on some of the deeper themes, right? Like not focusing on plot, but like what comes up for these characters and the readers.
Yeah. One of the biggest themes and I guess the lessons for the main character, Fia, is just her pride. So she is a young single mom. She wants to prove herself to her family, to the world, to herself, really, that she is capable of all things. And the form of help comes from Caden, who is her boss. And it's really hard for her to accept that because she doesn't want to be seen as incapable. And so I think through the book, you start to see like her wall coming down around her pride and understanding it's okay to accept help, which is something I've written about before. I think it's like a very deeply rooted thing that I have dealt with myself. And so I feel like I can write about it very well. But it's a huge thing for her. And it's kind of the driving, it's a deep theme, but it's also the driving part of the whole plot.
Well, let's touch on that because it's interesting how our minds play tricks on us when it comes to giving or receiving help, right? Like we can have a
Yeah.
grandiose vision for ourselves of like, I'm the one who can help other people. We can also have an equally grandiose vision of ourselves of I'm not someone who needs help. I'm not allowed to ask for help. I definitely can't receive it. And there's almost this block that happens in the moment. Like I even right now, I'm dropping into my own space. Like, all right, where's my pride of like
Yeah.
the disgusting feelings that come up when I have to even consider that somebody could help me because I am in need of help, right? Like
Yeah.
to anyone listening, pause where you are and think about what that's like for yourself when you're just like, oh my God, I want to die right now.
Yeah.
But when we take a step back, right, and we look at life and we can acknowledge that at any point in life, it's a it's a give and take. It's an ebb and flow. Like you're in the position to give help. Sometimes you're in the position to get help, but like there's a muscle of grace that needs to kind of be worked out in both of those positions of receiving help, giving it, and like kind of like with a release of both, like not being attached to
Yeah.
the role. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to say, like, are you getting what I'm trying to say of
I
like,
do.
it's equally uncomfortable, right? So let's talk
Yeah.
about that for a second, Catherine. Why does that come up
Yeah.
for you?
I think, especially during my 20s, I wanted to just do everything myself. I wanted to be like, look, I can do this. I don't need anybody. I'm successful on my own. And that didn't pan out well. I needed help professionally, friendship wise. Like you can't do anything on your own. Like you have to have a village to help you get places in life, I've realized, even if that village is one other person. And so I have learned that, and so when I was writing this character who is 22, I really put myself back in my shoes and was like, how hard was it for me back then? And you see her struggle.
Yeah. And then you also see that strange thing that comes up like in intimate partnerships because that's where it's the most vulnerable, right? This if
Yeah.
you're saying like this is the person I'm going to be in a relationship with, it's like the horrifying experience of needing help from the one person you
Yeah.
probably should be able to ask for help. It's like,
Yeah.
why is my mind playing tricks on me like this? But I also think it's really interesting when you kind of like cut yourself off from the belief of like maybe this is good practice for both of us because probably sometime very soon I'll be in the position of helping them with something, or maybe I've
Right.
already helped them with something and I'm just not aware of it, right? We're
Yeah.
not always aware of how our presence or our relationship can really affect another person. What an interesting journey to take us on. And so, want to ask you, what is the feeling, or like, what are the feelings you want someone to have as they close this book, right? And they've been on this
Mm.
journey and they're really dropping into the space of these characters.
the best way to sum it up is I had a friend read it, and when she was done, she was like, "That was just so cute and so warm." Like, it was like reading it was like a hug in a book, and that is how I want everyone to feel, because it is spicy and there's tension, but it's also very tender and sweet, and I want people to walk away from that book maybe looking at, like, popular tropes that are in this book in a new light. That's a different topic that we can touch on, but I want you to just feel like you read something that's a little bit different than you're used to reading, something maybe unexpected.
So yesterday,
Yeah.
I was in an editorial meeting and someone hopped on and they were like, "So I know we have this whole agenda, but I have to talk to you guys about something, but I'll do it later." And I was
Oh,
like, "We're not talking about anything else other than what you just said." So, Catherine, I'm
I'm
having a very
sorry.
similar experience with you. I cannot talk about anything else other than what you just said. So, I really need to kind of just like dive into that for a second and
Yeah.
tell me what you mean about that, about the tropes and like taking a different perspective when we look at them.
Yeah. So the classic grumpy sunshine trope, which is one I absolutely love, but when I was writing it and my book went through developmental edits, my editor brought up a really great point. I was gonna say life changing. It was life changing for the story. But she was like, what if he's not really grumpy in the way that everyone expects, but he's misunderstood and scared? And that's why he's grumpy. And so I put there that on my grumpy sunshine, like when I advertise it, I say he's not grumpy, he's quiet. He's introverted. And I think it comes from like a place where I was really, really quiet growing up. And a lot of people labeled it as like she's very unhappy, she's miserable. And my family was always like, "Why are you so miserable?" And I was like, "I'm not. I'm so quiet. I observe." And so he is labeled as like grumpy, miserable, never smiles. But Fia sees right through all of that. And she realized like he is just a very misunderstood sad boy who like wasn't given the chance and he wasn't comfortable. And so I think it's like that play on tropes, and there's a few more, but they would give away too much of the plot. But it's popular tropes, but there's a huge spin on them.
I really appreciate that because I think it's one, as a writer, you're dropping to those deeper levels where something really resonates with people when it goes far, far deeper than surface level.
Yeah.
Because that's what every single one of us experiences, right? Like I was nodding along when you were like,
Yeah.
people thinking that as a quiet child, that everything is terrible, and I was always, "You look miserable. What's on your face?" I'm like, I'm thinking. Girls are
Yeah.
allowed to think too.
Yeah.
Like, we could have a whole episode about that. But, I really do love that it goes deeper and why in these books that really resonates with me is because we're also talking about romance. We're talking about intimate partnerships and connection. And what an amazing thing to go deeper than surface level of like, the big outward things that we show the world. Yes, that's very attractive. And like, yes, that like triggers and pulls people in.
Yeah.
But when you get to that place when you can connect with them and be yourself and be seen and understood and almost have like a private language in your relationship in that way where someone
Yeah.
understands and sees you. And I also think it is important that these are in the romance genre. And we're also talking about spice and intimacy and connection and like how that plays out when you actually feel that someone knows you and sees you and you feel relaxed and comfortable.
Yeah.
And anyone listening can be like, "Don't we all feel like that?" And it's like, well, the first time you actually feel like that, you'll notice that maybe you didn't feel like that previously, and that was just your
Right.
baseline. Like you were just, it was normal to only let someone see a certain part of yourself. And
Yeah.
so, I'm thinking about some of your other books where these people feel really safe with their partners, even when it comes to the spice, and how that makes it a different experience for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just very important for me to like go a level deeper in everything I write. I don't know. I've tried writing very surface level romance because it can be fun, but I'm always layering in the trauma and the depth to it. So Yeah, I think it's just a theme that'll probably keep popping up, but I think to feel seen is to feel loved, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, let's touch on what you said though, because it happened during the developmental edit process. And I always
Yeah.
think that that's interesting, right? Because we're talking about writing. But think about in our own lives when we have like whatever that quote unquote developmental edit is in our life, whether it's like someone calling us out, calling us in, making a mistake and having to make repair. What is it like when someone calls you in to go deeper? You're like, what is that initial feeling? Because you're on the other side and seeing the value in it and being like, "Oh, that was right. I'm gonna work this story out and like flesh it out until it gets to
Right.
that point." But what is that initial feeling for anyone listening who's like at that point in their life where they feel like they could get to a next level in something, but they're like feeling like, I'm almost there."
Yeah. I as soon as you said that, it came up, like, just that feeling of resistance, I think, at first. It's so uncomfortable when you realize you have to go a level deeper, or you have to get vulnerable, or, like, go to the next spot. You have to level up in some way, which is so parallel with, like, how I felt writing this book. Going deeper after those developmental edits was, like, so super painful as a writer, and that's why I say this book was the hardest book to write for me, because I just had to dig deep and give these characters more meaning.
And it's interesting though, because once you do that digging and you kind of like tap into that part of yourself, again, we're talking about broad, not even just writing, any area of your
Yeah,
life, though, like you always know you can return to that place because now you know where it is. And like now you know the direction to go in. So I feel
right.
like there's a value in that too, right? Like it's not as scary because you've been there before and you're like, oh, there's a value in this space. There's nothing to be
Yeah,
afraid of.
yeah,
I do
absolutely.
love that we're talking about your book, but we're taking a total left turn and talking about a bunch of other stuff, which I feel like
I
we did the
know.
last time too.
Yes,
It's
I'm
good though.
sorry.
No, 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 I love it because I really love it. I think that these conversations are like guess what I'm trying to say is I do love whether it's books or conversation or art or music that like inspires curiosity, inspires self-inquiry. Like I love
Yeah,
someone opening a book of yours and saying, "Okay, we're talking about pride here." Well, that has nothing to do with me. And it's like then by the end of the book feeling like that probably has something to do with me as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't talk about my books without going deeper, because there's just so much in them and so much in the writing process and thinking about them that I think I would just yeah, that it's impossible for me.
Oh, well, I love that. I love these conversations, and I'm really excited about this for you. And, one of the things you mentioned at the beginning of the episode was your career as an author and like the direction you're
Mhm.
going in. And I saw something you'd posted recently about some of your first work versus the work now. And I
Yeah,
just want to drop into that space because this has probably changed so much in the last few years, right? But
yeah.
it also doesn't discount that process of the first books that you wrote. So, can you maybe just share a little bit about what that's like for you to reflect back on that work?
Yeah, I think I look back at it with a lot of, like, self-love for myself, a lot of, like, grace, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I just went for it, and I loved it, but I have grown so much, and I think it took a while for me to be like, "It's okay to let it go." And just keep going back. You don't have to, like, obsessively think, "How would I fix this? How would I do that?" Like, it exists. It's just the beginning. And I think a lot of people, they obsess about their first book that they put out, and I always say your first book is going to be garbage compared to your 10th book, and that is how it should be, because you're always improving, you're getting more life lessons, and so I'm okay with the logic that I think my first book was trash, and now I'm like, my newest book is the best I've ever written. Like, I think will always feel like that, or I should.
I mean, it's a pretty healthy trajectory, right? Like it's showing growth and skill and emotion. Like there's so many things you've probably learned just in the last year, which
Yeah,
is normal. That's healthy. Like we should all be doing that, right?
yeah,
And that gets put into your work and that's really beautiful. And it's funny because I know when I like a writer, I tend to do a deep dive. Like I read everything they've ever written and I actually love that part of it. I love seeing the growth in their writing journey because I'm a
yeah,
huge nerd and also has something to do with what I do for work. Like, I love seeing people evolve. Like, I don't think it's a negative thing. I think it's a really
No.
beautiful thing because, again, like, it shares that message that we're all allowed to evolve and that this
Yeah.
is really healthy, right? Like,
Yeah.
how boring would it be if the first thing you ever did was always the award-winning thing? Do
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it just like so much value in developing. So I love that you talk about that. Well, you have this book coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about where you are in the launch process? Because I did see that you had posted about ARCs and you mentioned beta readers and
Yeah.
like, so you're in the throes of it. When does this book come out and where and how is it available?
Yes. So it comes out June 24th. It is going to be available on all online retailers. It'll be on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. And I will have signed copies as well on my own website. I'm doing like a campaign with local indie bookstores because I'm really trying to support small bookstores more. That's really important to me. So it'll be everywhere. I'm in the depths of finalizing things right now. It's going to be going out to ARC readers and pre-orders are open. It's kind of that weird liminal space right now where it's done, but it's not out there.
Such an easy space to be in. I'm sure there is no anxiety or stress. And I love that you use
None.
the word liminal, right? Like
Yeah.
you're just in this like in between ether and you're just like, okay, I'm not quite at that point yet, but it's almost happening. But I really appreciate that you came on today and we were able to have such a beautiful discussion about this book and your work. And I'm just really excited, like no matter which direction you go in, but I'm happy that I've been a part of this series and this journey and found you this way with the Hometown series. And I'm really excited about this book. And, whenever you do have an idea of what is next, you always have a seat on this podcast, and
Thank
I would
you.
love to talk to you about it. So, Catherine, thank you so much for being here. And for anyone listening, I'm going to have all of the links to Catherine's social media and how to connect with her in the show notes. So, definitely make sure to check that. Catherine, this was a great conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Love Letters and Books, a podcast for anyone who loves a good story. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. You can find me on both Instagram and TikTok at Love Letters and Books. And if you're interested in being a guest on Love Letters and Books, suggesting your favorite author, or just want to write in an original love letter to yourself or someone else to be read on air, please send me an email at lovelettersandbookspodcast@gmail.com.